After 100 days of being in the hospital, I was starting to reach my breaking point. Our son Gabriel was born 3.5 months premature on March 14th, 2020. It was unexpected, and he came into this world after less than 3 hours of labor. He is a miracle, plain and simple. There is no other way to explain how a baby weighing 1 pound, 14 ounces not only survived, but is thriving today with minimal health issues. After 100 days, we were mentally, physically, and emotionally drained. We had been spending over 3 months trekking our way into Boston to visit Gabe at the hospital while also caring for our 18-month-old daughter, Cammie. Joe was also juggling, working. It was very difficult not having your own baby with you by your side and leaving him in the care of strangers. It was heartbreaking. At this point, Gabe was more aware than he had been in the beginning, and we were primarily working on him learning to feed by mouth rather than through the feeding tube. Thankfully, he could breathe on his own and was developing and growing well, but I just wanted him home. Since Gabe was born at the start of the pandemic, we had an extra layer of stress that we were facing, and like everyone, our world had changed overnight, but doubly so with the premature birth of our son. Being in the hospital during COVID was exhausting. Policies changed left and right in the beginning. It was so confusing. Wear a mask, don't wear one. 2 parents could visit. No, only 1 parent. Ultimately, we had to stagger our visits. We couldn't visit together or go on the same day until 90 days into Gabe's stay. Cammie didn't meet her brother until he came home. We couldn't have any family or friends at the hospital to support us. I went to the hospital all alone. I would hold Gabe and pray and sing and dream of the days when Gabe and Cammie would play with each other. I longed for him to be home. One day, I got on my knees in front of Gabe's crib and prayed, crying out to God to bring my son home. I lamented. I was struggling. I was getting depressed and anxious, not knowing when Gabe would come home. The sorrow was taking over. One day, I burst into tears at the hospital. I couldn't bear to see another baby go home before Gabe. Everyone at the hospital told me it would happen and he would come home soon when he was ready. But this didn't help me. I'm sorry, but a mom will not feel okay separated from her infant, no matter what you tell her. I cried a lot during the last few weeks of Gabe's hospitalization. It was different than the beginning because he was so tiny and I knew I couldn't care for him and then he needed to grow. But now he was the same size as a full-term baby and needed me. The meaning of Gabe's name, "The Lord is my strength," carried me through this difficult time. It was a constant reminder of the strength that I didn't have to get through the last final stretch of Gabe's hospitalization, but that the Lord had and would provide. I trusted God that Gabe would come home. God helped me get through the last few weeks, and after 115 days in the hospital, Gabe came home with no feeding tube. There was a lot of sorrow and loss surrounding Gabe's early birth. And it is okay to lament and be sad about it, but I know God is caring for us and will carry us through. And if I ever doubt that, I just look at my son and I am reminded of what God can do even with the tiniest human being. 1 year later, I am so thankful that God kept Gabe healthy and is continuing to help him develop. We look forward to the day when everyone can meet our handsome baby boy.